Humph. A little music and then more Memo of the Year Goodnight Radio on KNYO LP Fort Bragg, and then I'll read you this week's installment of Ezekiel Kralen's story about dog sitting and being manipulated by crackheads and so on in the big city to the south of where we all are happy to live. So don't go away. Deek Took Forever to Return is the title of this installment of Ezekiel J. Kralen's ongoing story, which begins email correspondence October 17th and 18th. The subject, Deek Took Forever to Return. But it was a lovely night anyway. After commiserating with various street amigos, he finally went for a ride on his bike. Said he'd be back within an hour, but it turned out to be 3. That is, I was out there in my tent until 12:30 a.m., longest pup sitting ever, almost 12 hours, because it began around 1:30 p.m. By the time the clock struck 11, I decided to purchase a bag of popcorn in lieu of the supper I missed. I hurried upstairs to slice up some sharp cheddar cheese and pour soda into a cup, then enjoyed the snack outside, happy that the doggies slept in comfort and warmth, and that Marshall has resumed narrating my unique true stories. Upon returning from Rosenberg's from across 16th Street, I saw a super-duper employee waking Deek up because it's time to go. By the time I reached his spot, he was sitting up in a dreary stupor, not aware I was standing close by until I addressed him. "Good morning. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning, so you need to free me up then. I'll be back by 1 p.m. This was not true, Watson, but I didn't care to be teased about getting my next COVID booster shot at Safeway. Not only would he scoff, but possibly impose dog-sitting on me just the same, claiming COVID is a government lie. I don't need to get that shot. It'll probably kill me. Calling this a doctor's appointment is something he'd more likely respect. He looked up at me, still in a pleasant mood from the shrooms, but about 8 $1 bills lay strewn on the sidewalk to his left. I pointed at the GWs and said, "Pick up that money. You don't want anyone stealing it." He turned to look, exclaimed, "Oh, geez," and stuffed them in a pocket as I said, "Well, then I'm going now. I hope your day goes well," and gave the pups a few pats before returning hovel. It's now almost 10 a.m., and he's still out there. I'm sure they'll roust him again soon, this time with some urgency. Last night when Deek and his little gathering sat by my tent, sharing the bubble pipe and chatting away, at one moment he turned to me and apologized. "I usually keep this stuff away from you. Sorry." "No, that's fine," I replied, "so long as my tent remains drug-free." Something funny he said to me about old Joe, who was an elderly African-American, heavy-set and fat-faced with jowls and impressive bags under his eyes. He's not as scary as he looks. There was obviously a warm exchange between the two, aided along by mutually fond memories of New Orleans, the Ninth Ward in particular, but this is all pre-Katrina, mind you, though I mostly kept to myself, partly hidden by the tent flap, while tapping away on my Chromebook. Deek kindly included me in his humble conclave now and then by asking or showing me something or offering me a snack or a drink. I guess I should consider it a great compliment, finally, to be included in the inner sanctum of a group of meth-addicted street folks as one of us. One of us, some of whom are no doubt bodhisattva guardians feigning that role. In fact, Boulevard Joe appears to have even greater respect for me now that I'm hanging on the streets for the doggies' sake, perceived as a result by the normals as a houseless person myself and all the crap that goes with it. I told him how the other day our token Castro tour guide and her gaggle came upon me and the pups occupying the ATM nook for the afternoon. "She hates the homeless," he interjected. "She thinks it ruins her presentation and cuts into potential profit off her gay history walk." "I know, and I felt it drilling into me," I affirmed. Gave me a scowl before resuming her lecture, like I'm just another useless piece of trash disgracing the heart of gay Mecca. We had a good laugh at that, and then discussed other matters relevant to the homeless cause. Never before has Joe spent this much time speaking with me. I seem to have impressed him that much by my latest outreach project, dog-sitting for a vagabond. Cyrus also showed up last night for just a moment. "Where's Boulevard Joe? I'm looking for him." Deek said he's probably up 16th Street a few blocks, but maybe at the club. I have no idea what he means by the club, but there you go. I poked my head through the tent's flap and called to him, "Hey, Cyrus!" But he kind of brushed me off with a lackluster "Hi, Zeke," and no smile. He really seemed eager to track down Joe. Soon as Cyrus took off, Deek turned to me and exclaimed, Soon as Cyrus took off, Deek turned to me and explained, "Boulevard Joe's the big man on the block these days, so everyone's looking for him." Meaning, of course, that he's wheeling and dealing tons of meth and other mind-altering products of perhaps a less injurious nature. I suppose he's been building up to that for years. Just goes to show fairy tales can come true. They can happen to you. I don't know, old chap, but sometimes I feel like a cultural anthropologist out on the field, embedded within the tribe I'm researching. In my case, that tribe is composed of long-term houseless in the Castro who have built their own mini-society, and it seems to be well-networked and efficient, with Deek, Boulevard Joe, and several others, the tribal chiefs, though I suspect many other shamans abound that keep their mission well hidden for a while longer before it blossoms across the city and then the planet. I just took a break after composing the paragraph above to check up on Deek and canines, who have finally moved just around the corner, drinking in the sunshine. I stepped out with a fresh bowl of water and asked if they'd eaten yet. He just shrugged his shoulders as if to say, "Damn if I know." "Come on, Deek," I declared. "You're the one with them now, but I'll take that as a no and fix them a meal, okay?" He shrugged his shoulders again and ordered me to remove their sweaters now that the day is warming up. Soon as I started to first do Flacco, her brother gleefully began to squirm on his back with tongue hanging out, one of his delightful ways in expressing joy for my friendship. Naturally, I scritched his belly, and the moment I did, Flacco started to squirm on her back, too, so I wound up scritching two bellies at the same time, then got around to taking their garments off, in the midst of which their master griped, "Come on, hurry up. I can't talk business when you're still here." There was another fellow standing nearby who showed up just moments ago. "I can't rush, Deek," I responded with exasperation. "I'm being gentle to these little doggies, and I don't think you'd have it any other way. Do you want me to stash them upstairs?" Yes, come on, get the fuck out of here," he snapped. I stood up then, both camouflage slipovers in hand, and said, "You should take shrooms more often. It mellows you out. You'll enjoy each day more, which would be nice to see." The other man chuckled at that, and I could see he approved of my retort rather than Deek's rudeness. I left Deek with these parting words. "Don't be a jackass. It hurts your reputation as Prince of the Castro." When I returned with the doggy victuals and 2 sheets of cardboard for the pups to rest upon, Deek showed me an oversized book about the 50s, flush with black and white photographs that his present guest had just handed him. "You remember the 50s, don't you?" he queried. "Not really. I was born in 1950. I'm old, but not that old. I was just a tot back then." He rifled through the dusty pages to show me a bunch more snapshots. "It's a classy book," I noted. "Looks sales-worthy to me, if that's your plan." I think he wanted to make up for his crude behavior by showing me this artifact from the mid-20th century. He certainly didn't act eager to brush me off this time around, which I appreciated. But soon as I saw the hounds start to dine, I told him to have a great day and return to my humble monk's cell, keeping my fingers crossed that he takes to heart my suggestion about eating more shrooms. P.S. By the way, I love how Marshall introduced my Paris tale. Quote, "Ezekiel Kralin has been writing a series about dog-sitting mostly, and writing faster than I can read the pieces 1 week at a time, so I'm going to read just one of them and let them pile up and tackle them as the time reveals itself to be available." During last night's visit with Boulevard Joe, no one else was there besides Deek and myself. I told them, "Listen to this," and played back that quote above on my Chromebook, just to let Deek know I really do have my stories narrated over the airwaves. I'm not just faking it like some big-shot bag of wind. When he heard the dog-sitting part, he cracked up immediately, but neither one asked me to play it further, nor was I about to force it on them. Subject line, Deek stuck me with the pups again. Stuck being a reverse euphemism for blessed, of course. How could I ever regard the darlings as anything other than a heavenly gift, no matter the inconvenience, discomfort, or stress? He dropped over from the corner of the bus stop out front where he slept about 10:30 a.m., telling me the cops are doing another sweep behind the building, so I should just watch him for a while. He won't be gone very long. He just has to get out of here till it blows over. And it's now 8:10 p.m. as I type this missive from my tent. Will he return tonight? Will he ever return? What will happen to Lucky and Flacco? I can't adopt them myself. But what if they tell me to move too? I replied. I knew he wasn't lying about the cops, as I just saw one turn the corner, and all debris was removed when I checked behind the building an hour later, with not a single vagrant standing or lying down, to put it aptly. Don't stress me out. I don't want to hear it, he erupted while sorting through his new wagon that he said a nice lady just gave him. It's made of dense nylon fabric instead of wood or metal or plastic, I guess. Go wait for me over there, he ordered, meaning the ATM alcove. But since he told me a few days ago to not hang the leash handles on the lever-type door handle that opens to a room behind the ATM machines, if you have the key, I had nowhere to tie the leashes where they could rest in the shade. I found that handle to be most convenient, yet Deek loves to make everything difficult when it comes to this imperturbable pilgrim. He also had a shopping cart, which held some possessions he transferred into the wagon. Took his sweet time doing it, too, as I patiently waited with the equally patient Brindlekin. What are you doing just standing around? He grouched as he finally approached with the empty cart, if you don't count the sparse number of goods still contained therein, all trash as far as I could tell. I was waiting for the cart so I could tether the dogs, was my reply. You look like you're ready to take off, he exclaimed. He was right, but not in the rude way he meant it. I wanted to hurry back upstairs, where 2 sliced-up bananas were sitting in my blender, along with a scant tablespoon of flaxseed meal, equally scant tablespoon of cocoa powder, 2 packets of Sweet and Low, 2 heaping tablespoons of tahini to have non-fat milk poured over them and get all whizzed up. I imagined the oxygen turning the bananas a puke-inducing brown as I lingered outside, accommodating Deek's frantic drama. He then grabbed a small chair that happened to be nearby and said, Here, take a load off. Enjoy the day while I figure something out. I'll be back soon. So I tied the leashes to the cart, now wheeled into the alcove by Deek's loving hands, and watched him depart toward Castro Street until he was from a distance where he wouldn't see me scurry off to my hovel and press button number 5 on the osterizer. The bananas remained a clean shade of yellow, you'll be pleased to know. I sat with the hounds about a half hour and scarfed down my entire smoothie before 3 angry gentlemen showed up and demanded I leave this spot and take everything with me. They had to enter that door for whatever chores. One of them had a key, so I thought they just meant I should transport my butt several feet over to the other end of the alcove. Okay, I'll just move them over here now that it's shady, I calmly replied. I'm just watching my friend's dogs for a while. Sorry to be in your way. No! You got to get out of here, the whole section, ordered one fellow with a nasty scowl on his face and a Mexican accent. To my surprise, no, to my shock, it was Victor, the building's maintenance man. I thought we were on pretty good terms. But this opened my eyes, good physician. I imagine he's caught up in the building manager's gossip, along with various other residents. Besides which, it may be difficult for these pinheads to wrap their heads around my dog sitting for 2 homeless poochies, first indoors for a year and a half, then outside and around our building, sitting with the canines for hours right under their noses. The nerve of me. Don't I realize they pay good money from their parents or Silicon Valley's largesse to live in San Francisco, and they don't need to see that where they live? As I placed 2 cardboard sheets and a bowl of water into the cart and began to roll it outside the alcove, another fellow said, Take the chair, too. No, I replied. That was already there. Then the third goofball, a gaunt, elderly man with whispers of gray hair floating around his cranium, addressed me. I'm security around here. I was tempted to say, Well, aren't you special? Instead, I just continued moving forward and onto the sidewalk, toward the bus stop, where I hunkered down and laid out the cardboard and a small blanket for the hounds, hoping those creeps wouldn't harass me here as well. I kept looking back to see what they were up to, and nope, they didn't bother me anymore, didn't even look in my direction. Granted, I was on the opposite side of the stall and mostly invisible to them as a result. I made sure of that. I just want to note that these 3 unwise men are your typical childish, brave new world Delta working stiffs, confronting me in anger rather than a friendly request that I go elsewhere. Discrimination against the homeless much? He's security around here, my ass. A bunch of brown shirts is what they are.